Commissioners to order. We can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let's have a moment of silence for the fact that this is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and also Child Abuse Prevention Month. Thank you. We have a public notice here that on April the 23rd, at the Commissioners meeting, there will be a public hearing on an application for a liquor license. We now have the regular session minutes, the liquor minutes, and the public hearing minutes. Do I have a motion to?
I'd like a motion to approve the session minutes, March 19th.
Have a second? Oh, I'll second it. And all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we now have two raffle permits, the Eastern Shore Rabbit Rescue and Education Center and the Kent County Community Marching Band.
Make a motion to approve? No, not.
Yeah, you're right.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second it. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
It's good.
We now have several several special Class C licenses. Rock Hall Volunteer Fire Company, a beer, wine, and liquor license for April the 6th. The Rock Hall Volunteer Fire Company, a beer, wine, and liquor license for April the 13th. The Rock Hall Volunteer Fire Company, beer, wine, and liquor license for May the 18th. Also, the Main Street Historic Chestertown, a beer and wine, April the 20th. The Eastern Shore Rabbit Rescue and Education Center, beer only, May 4th and 5th. Short Rivers Beer and Wine, May the 17th. And the Historical Society of Kent County, beer only, for May the 25th.
Mr. President, given that these are for special one-day liquor licenses, if anybody is here in the audience that wishes to speak for or against any of these licenses, this would be their opportunity to do so before you call for a vote.
So would anybody like to speak to any of these licenses?
Make a motion to approve the Class C licenses.
And I'll second that motion. No other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we will now go out of open session to go into legislative session. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to go in legislative session.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. We're now going to consider for a vote the text amendment on the solar energy systems. We have a motion.
I make a motion to deny the solar energy systems utility scale special exceptions use in the rural residential and CR commercial residential zoning districts. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it. Is there any other discussion? Bob, do you? I do have a couple comments I would like to make on this. In regards to this text amendment to change Kent's rural residential and commercial residential zoning to allow for utility scale projects, there are several disconcerting facts. First, these areas are designed and recognized for residential and commercial uses that bring real and continuing revenue into Kent County. I take offense to the comments by the CEO and president of Urban Grid that we prohibit utility scale projects. We allow them in the properly zoned areas, for example, on the Bramble Farm near Massey, which is moving forward. In addition, I beg to differ that utility scale projects add significant benefits economically to the county. There may be, and I emphasize may be, some short-term benefits while under construction, but there are no long-term job or long-term tax benefits to these utility projects. If this text amendment is granted and the project was to move forward, the next thing that would happen, has happened for the Massey project, Urban Grid would be asking for a pilot program, wanting to reduce their tax obligation. If Urban Grid or any other solar group are really concerned about the community, schools, and the livelihoods of the people in our rural areas, they would want to give over and beyond their tax obligations instead of wanting to reduce it. There's no common sense analysis that approval of this text amendment is consistent with the purposes and intent of the Kent County Comprehensive Plan, and that this change will enhance the quality of life and protect the rural character of the county while protecting the residents' health, safety, and welfare, as the president of Urban Grid claims. I would also like to address the owners of the property, Fair Promise Family Limited Partnership, who are fine Kent County citizens. I understand your frustration that nothing has been able to develop on this farm as you desire. In regard to residential or commercial use, it is my hope that Kent's Economic Development Department, along with the town of Chestertown, can more aggressively move forward in finding and encouraging the residential and business use that this zoning permits. Is there any other discussion?
No, I'd just like to reiterate that we make a comp plan, and comp plans take time, and I would just I'm sticking with the comp plan. So
at this time, we'll vote. All those in favor on the motion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Now, we have a motion to go out of
I make a motion to go into
legislative
session.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And now we need a motion, I guess, to go back into open session.
Make a motion to go back in open session.
This is a two-man show tonight. I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye. Oh, Ronnie, he couldn't take, we were in work session all day, he just couldn't take it. I'm kidding. Ronnie was feeling ill tonight, and
Yeah, we did budget
all day, and
from 9 to 4. So
yeah.
Been up here for a while.
Okay. We now have Daniel McDermott.
Hi, I tuned in earlier today and saw that you've been at it since about 9:30, so I bring you a little good news. We don't want money. I am Daniel McDermott, the Executive Director of the Upper Shore Workforce Investment Board. This is Melissa Mackey, who has worked with us for 32 years even longer than I have, and you will never see Melissa again because she's retiring at the end of this year. So she's done great work all these years, and if you ask me hard questions, I'll go Melissa. So I'll miss being able to do that. I'm going to give you some background on what the Workforce Board is and does, and then talk about the plan that we sent to you, and ultimately ask you for concurrence to submit the plan to the Governor's Workforce Development Board so that we can keep doing what we do and all of our partners can continue doing what they do. Workforce investment boards came into existence in 1983. We've been around that long, 36 years. It's required, a workforce board is required by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Before that, it was required by the Workforce Investment Act. Before that, the Job Training Partnership Act. So we've worked through 3 pieces of federal legislation. There is a workforce area aligned with every political jurisdiction in the country. So if you go anywhere, there is a workforce board. Unfortunately, we're not good at branding, so just about every board's named something different. So you move somewhere and you go, I want to know who the Workforce Investment Board is, and they go, oh, that's the Susquehanna Workforce Network and the Lower Shore Workforce Alliance. So we do have that branding problem. The governor designates the area, and the local elected officials, such as the Kent County Commission, appoints the members. Right now, your members are Tom Timberman, Chip Williams, and Eric Kuster. 3 really good members, and we really appreciate those appointments. They all work very hard and really help us try to run what we do more like a business and tell us about what's going on in the business sector in Kent County. So really what we do is we're the mechanism to bring a bunch of federal employment and training resources into the 5 counties that we serve. In my time in workforce, which has been 30 years, there have been studies by the federal government. At one time they said there were 147 redundant programs, then the next study said 96 redundant programs, now we're down to 47 redundant programs. So I've been around long enough, I think we're doing pretty good, But every time a new study comes out, it's too much redundancy. So we'll talk in a minute about what we're trying to do about that. The board itself has a private sector majority and a private sector chair. That's by law. So we have to have that, and that's why we've got the 3 excellent members that you have appointed. There are other members of the board who are required by law, a director of social services, some labor members, a representative of the school system, a representative of higher education. There's about 7 of those members who aren't private sector. So what do? What does the Workforce Board itself do, those appointed members? They really provide 2 things. One thing is a framework to connect all those redundant in the Upper Shore, and there are 13 programs that work together in this. So Public Caroline, Dorchester counties, and in a few has to provide those frameworks so that we can help these 13 programs work together. So that's one of the or dislocated workers. So that's another part of what. So how do we really do that? We work with business and industry. We do a lot with Jamie Williams here and the other economic development directors. We try to development directors a lot to help us understand that what kind of jobs may be coming in that we need to start working on a pipeline for. So that's how we do that. Once we gather in South Lynchburg Street, Kent Fam work together. We identify those employer needs, and then we push people to jobs and careers and career pathways that we hope will sustain them at a time. Training for the future, or just placing people in jobs. Because the local plan that we submitted, 92 pages of excellent reading, I'm sure that everyone was excited about that. It is the economy, and how can we help job keep it? That's benchmarks of success. And that's an initiative by the Governor's Workforce Development Board to try to get a handle on how we can measure. There's one thing maybe equally, but we don't all measure the exact same things. So benchmarks of success is a way to try to the whole that operationalizes the plan. which is job services, providing services, adult education, our partners with social services, and everybody, what we're working together on when we say we provide services is the get a job, keep a job portion of all of those entities' work. So that's, what the MOU is, and that actually operationalizes it, and that says, this group is going to be at 115 South Lynchburg Street this many times a week with this sort of staff and this sort of resources. So that's, kind of what that MOU and RSA is all about. Other than that, the sections of the plan really detail out the 13 different partners and what exactly they're going to bring to it in separate silos. So we have to be sure that we're providing equal opportunity and complying with the Americans with Disability Acts and all that, and training scholarships. For some reason, they think we should manage that. One of the other functions that the board undertakes, and this has been very successful here, other parts of the state are copying us, put together on various topics to, frankly, how can we say yes instead of no? So that's something that our board's undertaken and have done a really good job with. Kind of a nutshell overview where we say, you didn't need to read the 92 pages of the plan. You don't really need to read the 20 pages of the MOU, but when you see services being delivered, and what we're really looking for is concurrent county.
Do we need a motion?
Make a motion to offer the concurrence.
Everything that you do.
That's the base of the pyramid. You got to have the job, and then you can do everything else. And we appreciate you all through the years, your support, and because it makes us advocate for this as well.
Okay, at this time, Ivy, the director. This is Kent County, Maryland proclamation. Sexual assault is an intolerable, violent crime and a serious public health issue that affects millions of individuals each year. And whereas we must work together, speak out against harmful attitudes and actions, and take action to create a safer environment for all. And whereas crimes, and to recommit to reducing who work to identify, decrease, and prevent sexual violence, and who are dedicated to providing services in Altoona County, do hereby recognize to the attention of all our citizens. And this is signed by the 3 commissioners of Kent County, myself, Tom Mason, Ronnie Fithian, and Bob Jacob. Would Ivy Garcia come up and we can present this? Rachel Boyle, we have another proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month. This is Kent County, Maryland, among people throughout the community. And whereas without community resources and do not know how to cope. And whereas child abuse and neglect not only directly obesity, risky behavior shifts created among social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law and faith agencies, Child Abuse Prevention Month, and urge all citizens to increase their participation in our efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and neglect, and strengthening communities. Edwards Neal and anybody wants to come forward, come forward.
would you like to tell them a little bit about the events, if you would like to?
A little more comfortable that way. Oh, thank you. Symbolizes our vision of the child advocacy and empower futures of our children impacted by child abuse. So the initiative itself is to raise awareness, obviously, and prevention efforts. We this coming Friday to just give more, raise awareness within the community and allow people to have a space where healing is possible. So that's on Friday. And then the proclamation and reception event that is taking place next Tuesday is going to invite community leaders. We have a representative from the Maryland Children's Alliance that will be joining us for, again, a reading of the proclamation and then a light reception with community leaders across that support our work and our pinwheels at the park, at Fountain Park during Farmers Market. This have some takeaways that are, again, through a model of positive, promoting positive action. Supporting 26 has been identified as the day where we hope Facebook pages and tag at Kent County DSS so that we can, again, just kind of pull everything together at the end of the month and showcase.
In that day, so anybody that wants to have a down, DSS Cares, which is a nonprofit arm of DSS for gap funding, and we will also push out the pictures on social media.
And our project has offered an opportunity for families impacted by child abuse, but also vulnerable adults in our community.
There are these great blue pinwheel pins to support.
Good evening. I am here this evening seeking approval to offer employment to a few people for our Emergency Services Dispatch Center. Currently, Emergency Services maintains the list of part-time employees who work as needed to fill in when full-time employees call out or are on vacation. The current list of qualifications. In a part-time situation, we are seeking, that's fine for a full-time employee, but in a part-time situation, we are seeking those already trained. Well, March 21st, myself, Todd McGinn, it's dispatcher who was moving on but was interested in part-time employment. And during the interview process, one of the two individuals we interviewed was interested in full-time employment. So I'm seeking approval to make an offer to the part-time individual for the as-needed position, the other individual for the full-time position, and then to move or at least accept the part-time status of the individual that's.
Motion. Is there any other discussion?
Do you have anything further?
No. Thank you. Now, Shelley?
I have to the tourism board next week. So next, to use, it's an MOU between us and them. The courthouse staff, sheriff's office would like to sign an MOU. County, the MOU, it's been reviewed by Tom Yeager, by legal. I've reviewed it, and as well we've reviewed
One of the contracts, proposed contracts, I did have some concerns, $250, and just for government contracts, I find such provisions not to be in the best interest. The cost of those damages will greatly exceed $250. So,
Wasn't a typo.
it looked like it to me. Shelley reviewed it too. It was $250. To me, that is a contract that more akin to a limitation of liability. Didn't seem reasonable. That the vendors insured, which they should be, is you could limit their liability to their insurance coverage, assuming they are insured and their insurance fine. Forward that those vendors are going to be used, and I just wanted to bring this to your attention that I don't recommend a contract with a vendor in which the vendor has a problem. It's not, I think what I believe is, generally when a vendor, when this is brought to the attention, a vendor has a form that they need, that form of a contract is general. So my suggestion would be is that we approve it subject to that limitation of liability taken out.
The MOU itself is one of the, I could go back and try to negotiate.
So what would be acceptable, instead of $2,000?
That is just under 28,000.
Under about
$28,000.
$28,000. And if the vendor breached the contract or the vendor committed or omission,
I mean, he could damage the building. It could be
damage to a building, in theory.
The specific sentence is, owner agrees that if the vendor should be found liable for loss or damage due to a failure of the operator. That's the specific clause.
Limited to what we're paying, the value of the contract. Because what it,
even
chances are, if it fails, what dollars? That's not something that I would recommend that we agree to.
Not agree to take it out altogether, but they may agree to something in between.
I mean, I would say the greater of the vendor's insurance, available insurance coverage, or the amount that we pay the vendor.
Well, if you're putting a $5,000 roof on, most of these contractors are insured for hundreds of thousands of dollars, even though it's only a $5,000 job, because you don't know what else.
In case the insurance doesn't cover it, you have to have insurance that would cover things. But
there's also the sentence, it is understood that the vendor is not an insurer. Insurance are unrelated to the value of the owner's property.
Does something wrong. If the vendor negligently installs it, which causes a system failure, the risk of loss is not on the vendor and the vendor's insurance. The risk of loss, which results in a system failure. In my opinion, we either eliminate that completely, or if there's going to be some limitation of liability, at a minimum, it's on what we pay the vendor. Preferably, what we pay, or the vendor's insurance proceeds.
It's the local company that is generally used.
Local company says Lexington, North Carolina.
I don't know.
Another one. There's
On
another
page 50 grant.
doing all the risk.
So what you can do is you can approve everything else in here, and we can go back and negotiate with them and bring it back if you like.
But I can't agree with 250.
You mean that clause?
No, I don't understand why that company is saying what they're.
I think it's just standard. I think it's in all of their.
Standard. They
Maybe not even.
get a form contract that protects them.
Right.
And it's a standard contract, and that's what they put in front of us. I don't think that issue was ever raised with the vendor. That's my guess, but I don't know.
You ask them.
I would think because it's in the vendor's best interest, the government contracts tend to be further work. So my belief is, just based on past experiences, that if they're reasonable, they will take that out. They should take that out.
So we make a motion that we approve this if they take that out.
Subject to the removal of the $250 limitation of liability.
And something else has to be added in its place.
Damages. It's not capped. If you put something would not accept it if it was removed entirely, they would probably want, for risk management purposes, some type of limitation. And my suggestion
So it's reconciled?
I would table this, but I would, right.
So we're just not approving the vendor at this point.
Correct.
you're correct. One particular
And the first,
contract.
so there's the two first pieces of this are the one is the X-ray equipment software package, and the walk-through metal detector, and there's a cost associated with that. The second piece is the disposal of discarded equipment, it looks like. minimal. And then you go into the other pieces of that. The first piece.
Okay, now you're dealing with the contract that is set forth on attachment A. It looks like it's item J in the contract, which is back with them. It's item G in the second contract with them, but you're not approving that limitation of liability of $250.
There's 4 quotes in here for 4 different